I'm Tessa Atwood.
I'm Katie Snow.
I'm Mercedes Clifford.
I'm Zoe Corianis.
I'm Tyler Pearson. We will be performing
The Rebirth of Literature, Shakespeare's Encounter, Exploration, and Exchange of Ideas.
Hi, hello, how are you? Yes, well, when am I? If I'm correct, 2016? Yes? Good. Suppose the real question is, what am I doing here? Well, Shakespeare! William Shakespeare was born on April 23rd, 1564 to John and Mary Shakespeare in Stratford-upon-Avon. He was able to go to school in his youth where he learned to read and write. At the age of 18, he married his cousin Anne Hathaway, and together they had 3 children, Susanna, Hamlet, and Judith. He died at the age of 52 on his birthday due to unknown causes. Shakespeare rewrote the world by encountering prior literary works, exploring music and human emotion, and exchanging his ideas with fellow writers, thus creating works that would influence the world for centuries to come. Now, let's go back to the Elizabethan era to introduce the man who revolutionized theater as we know it.
Act 1, Encounter.
Who are you, and what are you doing here?
Shh. What? Shh. This is one of my favorite parts.
Favorite part? Who?
Yes, I've done it!
You finished?
Yes, I've completed King Henry VI. Listen to this. Suffolk speaks. Margaret shall now be queen and rule the king, but I will rule both her, the king, and the realm.
King Henry VI, Act 5, Scene 5.
What wondrous writing. Surely none can do better.
Surely, but now I must thank God for my good fortune in this my cause.
Shakespeare had written many poems and sonnets before this, but this is when he actually completed one of his first famous plays. He was quite the religious man.
Amen.
Shakespeare was a member of the Roman Catholic Church since birth, and religion was something that influenced him throughout his life.
But God above deal between thee and me.
Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 3, written in the year 1605. This is a common quote taken from the Old Testament of the Bible. Shakespeare used many biblical references in his works to explain emotions in ways that people were familiar with.
Here feel we, but the penalty of Adam, the season's difference as the icy fang and churlish chiding of the winter's wind.
1599, As You Like It, Act 2, Scene 1. This line, referring to the fall of Adam, was a common topic among the seasonal Christi Corpse plays that were performed every year. This is how people knew the story so well. This is also one of the ways that Shakespeare first encountered theater. But this is not the only thing that Shakespeare referenced to.
If I live to be as old as Sibylla, I will die as chaste as Diana, unless I be obtained by manner of my father's will.
1595, A Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 2. Many classical Greek stories were familiar to the people, as they were well-known stories studied by children as they learned to read. A simple allusion to mythological story was enough to describe emotions and situations that otherwise would have taken much longer. Along with these, Shakespeare encountered many plays that greatly influenced him in his works. Now that we've seen how Shakespeare rose from his humble beginnings, let's jump a little further in time to see how his career went.
Act 2, Exploration.
1596 London. The food, the plays,
Spies! Spies!
and the political unrest.
I remember you. You're that strange trespasser that operated in and out of my dear friend William's property those many years ago. Political unrest?
This is a period of extreme unbalance. The monarchy and 2 different religions are at each other's throats.
Speaking of political unrest, the Queen had Shakespeare perform his latest play, Richard II, for her court and people, to try and spark sympathy for herself and to show the people what will happen if they continue trying to dethrone her. If that isn't unrestful, I don't know what is.
The instability of the government provides a familiar background that many of our audience members understand. It's also an excellent way for our fellow countrymen to explore history.
With the Roman Catholics and the Protestants trying to dethrone the Queen, it's only natural that this great city would take well to our past.
Deception was a huge part of Shakespeare's plays, like in Hamlet. This above all, to thine own self be true, as it must follow the night, the day, thou canst not then be false to any man, says Polonius, Act 1, Scene 3. Polonius spied on Shakespeare the entire play.
William! What is it?
He's gone.
No! Why must they be so cruel?
indeed. Shakespeare's only son, Hamnet, died of a plague at age 11. Soon after his son's burial, Shakespeare makes a reference to his grief through a mother in King John, Act 3, Scene 4. Grief fills up the room with my absent child, lies in his bed, walks up and down with me, puts on his pretty looks, repeats his words, remembers me all of his gracious parts, stuffs out his vacant garments with his form. But the biggest thing that Shakespeare explored was human emotion.
Shakespeare takes thoughts, feelings, ideas, and puts them all on paper to share with the world. Through his writing, he discovered how to make man laugh, cry, and love, to hate, to scorn, to feel sympathy for. This is why he is so popular.
Wonderful women, have you ever thought of how much we all, and women especially, owe to Shakespeare for his vindication in these fearless, high-spirited, resolute, and intelligent heroines?
But Shakespeare's magic could not copied be. Within that circle none durst walk but he.
Ah, Shakespeare, the conqueror of human emotion that affects throughout the ages. Now, let's see what we've taken from Shakespeare even after his untimely demise.
Act 3, Exchange.
Dear James, in accordance with your previous questions, yes, I am doing well. I'm going to see one of Shakespeare's performances, Richard II. His works of art have been so amazing to read. I'm sure you would enjoy his political humor.
His political humor? More like insults to the crown. I can't wait until I have the throne. I'll put him in his place.
James becomes King James I and hated Shakespeare, although Queen Elizabeth enjoyed Shakespeare's political humor and used it to her advantage to keep England from falling apart. James had almost the opposite opinion. He believed Shakespeare's words to be vulgar. In fact, he almost had Shakespeare thrown in jail for some of his words. Ah, the Herald has some news for us.
Hear ye, hear ye. Shakespeare has invented the following 1,700 words to add to our vocabulary. Academy, accessible, accommodate.
It was another and 'tis thus with a hand on hand.
Pardon me! Who are you to so rudely interrupt me in my declarations?
I meant no offense. I just wanted to say that Shakespeare did not just exchange these words.
You are correct. I also wrote tragedies, like Othello, The Comedy of Errors, a comedy, and historical works, like King John. I also revolutionized poetry around the world by exchanging 154 sonnets. The people no sooner looked, but loved my works.
Yes, and he explored new phrases such as brave new world, break the ice, elbow.
Yes, and along with these words, phrases, plays, and sonnets, he also explored music. Music that blends into the background of his plays and brings magic to the stage.
True. And the words of Alfred Harvish, as in so many other ways, Shakespeare excelled his fellow playwrights and the number and quality of his songs. Shakespeare's songs were inspiration to many. In fact, the song that you just sang was used in Disney's latest version of Cinderella. How rude. They didn't even say bless you. Oh well. Through all this, Shakespeare's influence reigns supreme. As previously mentioned, he greatly influenced politics with his performances for the Queen and King, but he also impacted the average person. Maybe we should ask them. Excuse me, miss.
Yes, dearie?
How has Shakespeare affected people's lives around here?
Well, his old friend Ben Jonson was trying to publish a play of his.
I'm sorry, we can't publish this here.
But that's outrageous!
I don't see why this play can't be published.
Mr. Shakespeare,
I'll pay for the publishing, if you'll be so kind.
Of course, sir.
Every Man His Humor will be a great play.
Not to mention the publishers now. William Shakespeare's so popular and has exchanged so many works that they're starting to put his initials on everything, just so they'll sell it faster.
New books! I recognize that W.S. anywhere. William Shakespeare! That's not Shakespeare!
Well, thank you for your time.
Anytime, dearie.
Well, I suppose our journey here is through. Time to take you back home. 2016. I hope our trip back to the Elizabethan era helped you understand that Shakespeare encountered prior literary works, Greek mythology, and religion that he used to transform the theater. He explored politics, deception, and human emotion to bring magic to the stage. And he exchanged with us new words and phrases, political humor, and music, and influenced everyone who met or witnessed the genius of his work.
In school, we explore Shakespeare's tragedies and other works such as Romeo and Juliet.
Even in today's modern music, Shakespeare's influence is there. Using words from his plays or even simple ideas, famous artists such as Taylor Swift and the Beatles have used him as inspiration to exchange works all over the globe.
Besides his plays that have been made into films, famous movies such as Disney's The Lion King, West Side Story, and She's the Man were all inspired by Shakespeare and his works. Billions of people all over the world have watched and enjoyed them.
The dictionary wouldn't be nearly as large as it is today without Shakespeare's words, and thus our vocabulary would also be lacking. We also exchange phrases that he invented every day in our own conversations, such as dead as a doornail or all's well that ends well.
Without Shakespeare and his genius, we would not have the theater and ideas that we have today.
Shakespeare rewrote the world through his exploration, encounter, and exchange of the literary